Just like that, we're back. It's Views from Section 400. Short-headed show today. Matt and Brian bring you this action-packed episode. Jack is recovering from an injury. Hopefully he gets well soon. He'll be back for the next episode. But, yeah, Hall of Fame game is Thursday. We'll dive right into that because this is the last show before football starts. You guys are going to watch this, and later that day, NFL will be on. The NFL will be going. Sure, it doesn't mean shit. Sure, it's the first game. It's August 1st. We're still a month out, but it is football. You still get the broadcast, the aesthetic, the whole 9 yards. Brian, I know you're pumped up for that.
Yeah, I was going to say football is kind of a loose term because it will be like the fourth stringers going out there, and I believe the over-under set at 32. But nonetheless, we get to see the new graphics. We get to see some new rules possibly, which we'll talk about later. And yeah, I'm pumped. We've enjoyed baseball season, but at least on this show, football is king, and we're ready for it.
Football is definitely king. It's what we are all the most passionate about. Again, baseball close second, as Brian has the Mets hat on, and my Phillies are crumbling. But we'll get into that later in the show. It is a winners and losers, and whether we have one guy, two guys, or all three, we give you the winner and loser of the week. So, Brian, jump into it after a word from our partner, SeatGeek.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's tough to say, but the summer is almost over. With the 80-degree weather and sunny days coming to an end, there's no better time than now to head over to SeatGeek. Whether you want to get to a ball game up in Section 400 this summer, check out an outdoor concert before the weather turns to rain and snow, or go to a football game, yep, those are happening in August, SeatGeek is the premier ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. All of you up in Section 400 can get $20 off your first ticket purchase with code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout. Again, that's code VIEWSFROM400 for $20 off your first purchase at checkout. You can click the link in the description of the show to download the app, go to your favorite event, use our code, $20 off. And now, winners and losers. Okay, so as much as I would love after your Phillies comment, I'm surprised you admitted they're crumbling to put the Phillies as my loser of the week. By the way, the Mets have come up 10 games since the beginning of June. So objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. But I will not get into that yet, at least. My winner of the week is going to be Steven Nenarozic. Team USA, the specialists they called them on the gymnastics team, our men's gymnastics team had not medaled in a team event since 2004. He goes out there. The dude looks like he could have competed on the esports team or on the weightlifting team. The dude is crazy. Before he goes up onto, they call it the Pamela horse. He does like a meditation, looks like LeBron down 3-1, has the sunglasses on, just like envisioning him having success. Goes out there, spins around like 72 times, hands on the beam, feet are going everywhere. Perfect routine. US wins bronze. This kid gets interviewed the next day by the Today Show with two of his teammates. They're like all dressed up, like perfectly gelled hair. He's got the shades on, like hair's out of place. Like this dude had the time of his life after getting his team bronze. That's what dreams are made of.
That's what dreams are made of, and that's what it's all about, right? I mean, who gives a shit about looking good for national TV? You had a great night the night before, winning bronze for your country. So props to that guy. And that was what, men's gymnastics?
Yeah, it's always the Asian countries that own men's gymnastics, and Team USA, I'll get into the women's gymnastics when we talk about the loser of the week, but men's have not been there. And this kid, they called him the specialist, and he provided the special fucking routine on that beam.
He was special, man. He got the bronze for the U.S., and I know the U.S. has a pretty solid medal count right now. Maybe not in gold, but they're keeping pace. One quick thing, and again, I know we're jumping into it, but I just wanted to say, I was looking at the medal count today, and we don't have to do a whole thing on this, but dude, such a developed country, especially like athletically or athletics-wise, Spain only has one medal this entire Olympics, and it's a bronze medal. Like, what do you think that, like, there are far less developed countries that are, like, way ahead of them in the medal count? And it's a Summer Olympics. Like, I'd understand if it was, like, the Winter Olympics, and it's like, all right, Spain, like a tropical country, they won't be good at the snow sport. Like, it's a Summer Olympics, and Spain is very, very far down. We're about a week in now or so, like day 6 of the Olympics, and Spain has one medal, and it's a bronze. A lot more developed countries are ahead of them and well ahead of them. I just thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I guess it's well, I can't even really make this similarity because the US has so many medals, but they did win the Euros this year. I guess every kid in Spain just wants to play soccer, unless you're John
Well, that's
Rahm.
like more to my point is like they're pretty developed country here. You'd think they'd be a bit more competitive, especially in the summer,
Yeah, and there's a lot of beaches there too, so a lot of water sports. I don't know. That's a good point.
right? It was a little weird, maybe concerning. But again, a long way to go in the Olympics. We can see them shoot up as it goes on. But I thought it was interesting after 5, 6, 7 days go by. But what do you got for the loser of the week here, man? Are we keeping it in Paris?
We're keeping it in Paris and we're keeping it to United States Gymnastics. So my loser of the week is going to be Michaela Sinner. So she was a member of the 2020 women's gymnastics team that did not get gold in Tokyo. She came out with a quote before these Olympics and said, besides Simone, of course, Simone Biles, I feel like the talent and depth just isn't what it used to be. Just notice, like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of girls that don't work as hard. The girls just don't have work ethic. Well, Michaela, that team has none other than Auburn Tiger, Suni Lee, War Eagle. In the Auburn
You're
Creed,
not going to get it out of me.
one of the first lines of the Auburn Creed is, therefore, she believes in work, or he, hard work. It's right there in the creed. You should read the Auburn Creed, Michaela, because Suni Lee is a hard worker. She's one of the reasons these girls won gold. After they won gold, Simone Biles goes out there and posts an Instagram photo with the caption, lack of talent, lazy Olympic champions. So shout out her, shout out Suni, shout out Hesley Rivera and Jay Carey. They made Michaela Sinner look terrible.
Yeah, I love I saw that quote by Simone Biles. That was pretty badass. They took home gold, and despite all that backlash.
Yeah, they killed it. I mean, Great Britain, their team had a great routine and they were all going crazy. And then they looked up and saw that Team USA's score had not been announced yet. And their faces just went like dead right after they were celebrating because US is just that good.
Well, everybody calls the U.S. fat and lazy, so I guess we can continue to be that and still be the best.
Check that medal count now.
Yeah, check that medal count now, but that's good stuff there. I got some winners and losers. Not necessarily a winner in the Olympics, but we'll definitely get into a Olympic loser in a second here. But for my winner, I had a few jotted down. Nothing crazy, nothing like oh my gosh. But I think this guy is local to Philadelphia, and he just signed a huge extension. So I wanted to give a shout out to DJ Moore. Over $100 million locked up, 4-year contract. I mean, this is a guy who was on the Panthers trying to find his way, horrible quarterback after horrible quarterback, seems to now be set up. Caleb Williams, the undoubted number one pick, this, that. Yeah. 110 million, and he's now on a good team. I guess we'll see what Caleb can do, but had to give a shout out to the local guy. I hope he's local. I think he's local to Philly.
Sounds right.
DJ Moore with the huge contract extension, and now seems to be on a good team or a competent team. So really leveled up. I think he's a good candidate for the winner of the week.
Yeah, so good pull by you there. He played high school football at Emotep.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean DJ Moore, this is a guy, like you said, he's never had a quarterback and he's always produced. And he finally gets on the Bears. And even then, without like a good quarterback, just a better team, I guess, better offensive line, he produces even more. And now he's got Caleb Williams. I love the move for the Bears. Congrats to DJ. I've always enjoyed watching DJ Moore play football. He had that one game with like 4 touchdowns last year. He's a great player.
He was a great garbage time fantasy guy. Defenses are playing loose, and he's just wide open over the middle of the field. So that was always fun watching him do that. And look, I mean, they got a nice little attack there in Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and then Roma Dunze just slots right in. Pretty sure they got DeAndre Swift as well in the backfield now.
Yep.
So can't say Caleb Williams doesn't have the weapons. Definitely has more weapons than Jaden Daniels, huh?
Yeah, maybe. But Jaden Daniels has the heart and the SEC background, and he will be your 2024 Offensive Rookie of the Year.
we'll see if that's the difference. But yeah, exciting football season for a lot of different teams upcoming. But yeah, winner of the week, DJ Moore there for basically locking up 100 million over the next 4 years. But my loser of the week is going to be USA basketball, and not the 5-on-5 guys. It's the 3v3 guys, headlined by former BYU Mormon Jimmer Fredette. I don't know if he's a Mormon or
I
not,
don't think he
but
is.
went to BYU. He had that crazy March Madness run. They lost their opening game in horrible fashion. They got blown out by Serbia. I don't know if the 3v3 team's supposed to be good, but I think they have former NBA guys on there. I mean, Jimmer Fredette had 4 points. Serbia has a team in the Olympics, a 5v5 team. They already have their best guys. So these 3v3 guys for Serbia can't be that spectacular. You figure Jimmer Fredette and co should be able to muster up a win. But I did a little research. They didn't even qualify for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So I just think 3v3 basketball in America should be, leave it to recess and the schoolyard and the blacktop outside, because it's not going well in the opener.
Yeah, it's very odd like that they wouldn't be good on three. The women lost too, and they won gold in Tokyo. That was also Kelsey Plum and Stephanie Dolson, who's a serviceable big in the WNBA. And now they have Ryan Howard, who's also very good. But I don't understand why we can't control the 3v3 game the way they can the 5v5. I mean, all it is half court and you take the ball back after a shot. It's the same rules, the
Right.
same everything. You'd think they'd be able to dominate, but here we are losing to Serbia.
Losing to Serbia, and I mean, former like All-American shooter and scorer Jimmer Fredette, 4 points. Like, is it that
Yeah.
hard to score? I guess.
It
I
is a
don't know,
shorter
but
game, so I'll give them that. But
it is. But I mean, it is a shorter game, but it didn't go over well for them. So uh, didn't qualify in 2020, and doesn't look like they're going to medal here in 2024. But at least we have the 5-on-5 guys, who we'll get into in a second. But that is the winner and loser of the week, presented by Views from Section 400 and our special sponsor, SeatGeek. Use code Views from 400 for $20 off your first purchase. Now we jump into the Olympics, particularly basketball. I almost said NBA because it damn near is the NBA, as that entire team is an NBA All-Star team. But yeah, the U.S. came out, showed out, beat South Sudan. Look, if you didn't think they were going to come out and send a message after almost losing to that team, you just don't know how sports and how emotions and egos work. The U.S. came out up by 20 at halftime, absolute domination. And I'm not surprised at all. I figured they needed to do that. It's interesting to see, though, at the age of 40 years old, LeBron is just still the best player.
yep. Well, if you're not going to bring it up, I will. Steve Kerr, I don't know what kind of mind games he's playing with the Eastern Conference, but your guy Joel Embiid did not play a single minute tonight.
I mean, he didn't play Jason Tatum, doesn't play Embiid. Embiid, honestly, for lack of better words, has been horrible for Team USA. I mean, he really hasn't been good, found out of games, not really in rhythm. So, not surprised. And again, it's an all-star team, so they don't really need him.
Yeah, it's if Team USA doesn't win gold, something went terribly wrong. They either got food poisoning in the Olympic Village, or LeBron just breaks an ankle. But this team is finally, this is Team USA basketball. I feel like the last couple of FIBA World Cups, even the last Olympics when they won gold, it hasn't been the same kind of domination that we're used to seeing. And South Sudan, credit to them, they're a good basketball team. I really hope they find a way to at least keep it close against Serbia, if not win, so they can qualify for that quarterfinal. Because JT Thor, War Eagle again, and the rest of them, they deserve all of this. And this is a team that we've talked about them before. We talked about them after the exhibition against USA. Their first game, they won against Puerto Rico. The wrong national anthem was played when they were getting introduced. So they just have that chip on their shoulder of like, not only are they not supposed to be here, but like, I guess the Olympic Committee doesn't even realize they're here.
No, they don't realize they're here. How do you mess that up? I mean, I get it. They're a newer nation of only 10, 15 years old, but It's a pretty bad fuck up.
I mean, 15 years is a long time to realize that you got to get this new national anthem.
Yeah, maybe they didn't have one. I don't know.
I heard, I think Noah Eagle brought it up today on the broadcast. And I could have saved it from a Michael of the week, but honestly, it's just too much to ignore.
Yeah, yeah, and what? That was today they fouled up the national anthem because I didn't even see that.
This is the first game. Today they got
Oh,
it right, or I guess
today they
yesterday.
got it right. Okay, because they got all the backlash, this and that. But yeah, I mean, Team USA. Who's their next game?
Next, they got Puerto Rico.
Anybody of notice on that team? Any NBA guys?
Jose Alvarado.
Oh, the dude on the Pelicans.
Yeah,
I
that
don't even
runs.
know if he's on the Pelicans anymore.
Yeah, the small guy just runs around, plays good defense.
Yeah, so him and yeah, that I mean, yeah, that'd be 30-point win again.
Yeah, they lost to South Sudan by 11, so I can't imagine we won't beat them by 40 plus.
Yeah, that game's in pretty much wrapped up. But I don't know when or who will give them a run for the money. How's Team Canada doing? I know they were a team to look out for.
Yeah,
Germany.
Germany's 2-0. Canada took down Australia in their last game, so they're going to win their group. But it's looking like the US will match up with a second place team, so possibly Australia in that quarterfinal.
I
Or
mean, it'll be more competitive, you would think.
Yeah, I mean Australia's a good team. You have Josh Giddey running around putting up, Ben Simmons type numbers. Patty Mills can score 20. For some reason, he averages like 25 points in FIBA play. So,
Yeah, some guys just come alive for their country, man.
you know,
It's just what it is. But yeah, again, still early on in the Olympics. We'll ramp that up as the week and 10, 15, however many days goes on. But yeah, looking to see the U.S. stack up that medal count. And as I mentioned earlier, such a developed country in Spain. Let's love to see them get on the board with the gold medal here in a summer Olympic Games. I think they only have one in a bronze, so we'll see what they're able to do.
yeah, they've had a great year. We talked about them winning Euros. Alcaraz is winning all the tennis tournaments. He'll probably win the Olympics. So they've had enough winning. They don't need a good Olympics.
Yeah, I mean they're taking it off, and they're taking it off in a big way because they're way down at the bottom. But still early. I won't rag on them too much. But yeah, that's some good Olympic talk there. Why don't we jump into a little bit of some MLB trade deadline talk? It just wrapped up. Your Mets were buyers, as that was my mic of the week earlier. I was shocked that they were buyers,
White buyers.
light buyers, whatever you want to call it. And my Phillies were buyers, but they're also crumbling. So there's a lot to digest there. But Bri, we can jump into the Mets moves. They go out, they get a rental in Jesse Winker, and what else did they do?
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised sitting here on this Wednesday evening and you are admitting to your Phillies crumbling. But we'll talk about them after we go over the Mets. Yeah, they got Phil Maton a couple weeks ago, and he's been a great addition. Ryan Stanek, another guy, throws hard out of the bullpen. He got rocked by the Braves in his first appearance, and then Pete Alonso almost injured him on Tuesday night by flipping a ball over his head and then spraining his ankle. But he's fine. And then they get a starter in Paul Blackburn, who I think Mets fans are going to love just because he looks like a pirate, and we need another gimmick in this gimmicky season. So there'll be a bunch of eye patches and wooden peg legs coming out during his starts. And then Huescar Brosabon from the Marlins, who's somehow 34. I feel like he's been in the league for 2 years, but he's been a serviceable arm. So the Mets did what they got to do. David Stearns didn't give up any big prospects. And the one hole you could really point to in this team was their bullpen. And I guess the one starting pitcher after Kodai, unfortunately, was out for the year. So, I mean, hey, they've been the best team in baseball since June. And with the Phillies struggling and the Braves just kind of being idle, even though they're starting to heat up again, if the Mets can take advantage of this next stretch when they got the Angels and the Rockies, they could feasibly be in mid-August and be 5 games within the division.
Yeah, it's it's a tale as old as time, right? Calling teams out in May is a recipe for disaster. Calling them out in June is a recipe for disaster because it's an almost 6 month regular season. It's 162 games. And, am I pushing the panic button on the Phillies? No. Am I concerned? Yes, because they've lost like five straight series. They haven't been able to string together multiple wins, and they're playing good teams, right? The Guardians came to town, couldn't get it done. The Yankees come to town, they get swept. Granted, those final two games of the Yankees were close, so it's not like they're getting blown out of the water. First game blowout, but it's tough to see Dombrowski sit on his hands in the midst of this crumble. Trade deadlines there. I'm not saying sell the farm, but give me a better bat than Austin Hayes. Sure, you went out and got Estevez, and he did his job last night. He went out and got 3 outs, and it was pretty stress free. Um, but give me a little bit of a better bat than Hayes. Go make a Luis Robert type move. I don't know what that would have costed. Maybe you have to give up a little bit of the farm, but you sure as hell don't have to sell the entire farm for Luis Robert. So
I mean, even Eloy Jimenez, the Baltimore just basically had to pay his contract.
yeah, I mean, there's guys out there you could have got. I don't, it sounds like in these interviews that he had after the Hayes, like Dombrowski had the secret crush on Austin Hayes because he admitted that the last 2 seasons he's been trying to get him. So for whatever reason, he's got some weird fetish for Austin Hayes. But he finally got his guy. Sure, he hit a home run. Sure, like I don't, you can't judge him yet, but he's just been okay. I mean, he doesn't move the needle. Rojas is still gonna have to be someone there who the guy can't hit. He can't hit. He plays great defense. He can't hit. That's not gonna bode well. The pitchers are collapsing. Sanchez got rocked. Ranger Suarez on the IL. Wheeler didn't look good. Nola, to be fair, I think he only let up like one run over. I think it was like 5 2/3 or maybe 6 innings. So he was fine. It was the bullpen collapsed and some guys got to figure it out. They did make a move to get this guy. If I see him in my notes here, Tanner Banks, who had just over a 4 ERA for the White Sox, which I think should translate a little better on the Phillies. The White Sox are a really bad team. They're on a 15, 16 game losing streak. So I think that 4 ERA, it was like a 4.1 ERA, could look a lot better with the Philly on the Phillies. Left-hander, so essentially they got rid of Gregory Soto, who is not good for the Phillies at all. Inconsistent, but not good. So we'll see. A replacement there. Jeff Hoffman's still good for 1 inning. We saw last night, you let him go longer than an inning. Shit falls apart. But it's fine. He's just supposed to be a 1 inning guy, Yeah. And Carlos Estevez looked good. So the bullpen should be fine. The lineup's got to figure it out. I'd rather it happen now than in end August, September, worse, the NLCS Game 7. But yeah, I mean, it's a little concerning. I'm not pressing panic yet. If the Mets or the Braves get, in that like 4 or 5 game of the division, that's when it's, time to get a little panicked.
Yeah, I think for now you have a few games of leeway, but if it happens where the Phillies get under 20 games over and the Mets or Braves get over 10 games over, that's when it really, really starts to set in.
And I was looking again because I'm just a baseball nerd and look at way far out, but I was looking in September and like there's like 7 of the final 13 games are against the Mets.
Yep.
It's like a huge 4-game series, like right at the end of the year. And then they take a series off and then do a 3-game series. So that end of the year is going to be – I mean, if the Mets are at 7 games back, I mean, we could be talking about another historic collapse on the cards. The Philly schedule doesn't get much easier. They need to get some of those bad teams just to kind of refine themselves. But yeah, it's been rough since the All-Star game. I think that London series completely threw them off and should not have happened. For whatever reason, the Mets found life in London and the Phillies have fallen apart. I mean, their starting pitching from 1 through 5 is falling off. And where the hell's Taijuan Walker? We signed this guy $75 million. That got.
Oh, he's still pissed about not pitching in the playoffs last year.
Like, where the hell has he been? $75 million. Joke.
You mentioned Dombrowski sitting on his ass, and this is something that you've brought up multiple times. The Phillies' strength of schedule in the first half, to their credit, they were beating the teams in front of them, but it was not good. So now you're seeing them play harder teams in the second half. And you would think that's something the front office would at least realize a little bit. And the Mets and Braves both kind of are now starting to beat up on those teams that the Phillies beat up in the first half.
Right. So
Um,
everything's kind of starting, I guess, to realign and kind of even out a little bit. But look, I'm not going to press the panic button. And, whether they're good or bad teams the Phillies were playing, they still have a good team. Like,
yeah,
I mean, Bryce Harper, superstar, Kyle Schwarber, great player. Trey Turner is having an unreal year. Castellanos is starting to turn it around. We saw the last month he's been, red hot. So they have good players, they have good pieces. They just need to figure it out. It's baseball. Guys go through slumps, but it's more apparent when everybody's slumping.
yeah. I mean, the best product MLB should probably be rooting for, not just because of fan bases, but also just on the field. It would be the best case scenario if all three of these NL East teams make the playoffs in some kind of
Of
fashion.
course.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Padres, they're not anything. The Diamondbacks have yet to get it going this year. And
Right.
then maybe the Pirates with Paul Skeens, but they added some offense at the deadline, but still they can't hit a lick.
And the NL Central is the NL Central. The
Yeah.
Brewers are losing in the first round. I mean, it's a tale as old as time.
Yeah. I mean, the Brewers are
Are
the
you scared
reason.
of the Milwaukee Brewers?
They're the reason the Nationals won the fucking World Series in 2019. And I have to deal with that over my head because of that stupid ass outfield hit and it goes under the guy's glove and 2 runs scored.
Yep.
Like that one really kills me. The fact Ryan Zimmerman has a ring instead of David Wright is just terrible.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty ridiculous. But yeah, not scared of the Brewers, not scared of the NL Central. AL West or NL West, Diamondbacks yet to get it going, and the Dodgers are there. But I mean, the Phillies swept them at home. Phillies go on a huge West Coast swing. Maybe that'll
Hmm.
get them right, as they got to go play the Mariners, who are a good team. They got to go play the Dodgers, obviously good team, and they're going to want their revenge after getting swept out of Philadelphia. And then, NLCS rematch, they got to go play the Diamondbacks out in Arizona. So a tough, tough West Coast swing coming up for the Titans. Hopefully they can find their way, get back on track, and come back to South Philly with a positive road trip. And then, get the fans back behind them and kind of right the ship back in the right direction.
If they can't do that, the Mets have a West Coast trip against the LA Angels and the Colorado Rockies. So it's getting really interesting in the NL East.
It's getting too interesting for my liking. But yeah, it's going to be a wild end to the season here. And I think to your point, just to touch on before we wrap up the MLB talk, you know, the Braves, Mets, and the Phillies all making the playoffs is probably the best thing for baseball, for the MLB, for viewership. Superstars on every team. And, is the NL East and AL East two best divisions in baseball now?
It gotta be, but not only the best thing for the MLB, the best thing for the brand here at Section 400, especially if we get a
Yeah.
Phillies Mets series.
I mean, you guys remember my Phillies hype last year. So, roller coaster, so up and so down. We'll see what happens. But a lot of MLB talk will be talked about. Don't worry. I know football's heating up, but as we get close to the playoffs and the season wraps down, it's going to be an interesting time. But before we end the show, I do want to jump in to the Hall of Fame game, which is tonight. Texans and the Bears. No, all those superstars we highlighted will not be playing, or I don't know who's playing, who's not playing. But just for fun, just for shits and giggles, it's the first time of the 2024-25 season. We'll give out a pick because why the hell not? And I kind of like this pick. But yeah, Brian, I'll let you get into a little analysis. I don't know if you want to go over some numbers, if you have some interesting, hey, this always happens in the Hall of Fame game, so I'm betting this way. What do you got?
Well, you know me, and I'm happy you brought it up. I do have some numbers because it's hard to handicap a game where the fourth string players are going to be in, and the head coaches are probably just drinking their flasks of whatever liquor of their choosing and letting the assistants run things. But the Bears are 4-1 in the Hall of Fame game. The Texans are 0-1 all time. So you would think the Bears have a little advantage there. But we talked about this a week ago. D'Amico Ryans made all of his veterans report to camp the same time as the rookies. So that alone tells me this team's locked in, at least more locked in than any other team right now at this point in the season. So give me the Texans as underdogs at plus 110.
Dude, you know, I was reading this game too, and I was like, I kind of like the Bears because like the Caleb Williams matchup, but then it's like, oh, none of these guys are playing. And then I thought of that note that you said of like, I was like, wait, didn't D'Amico Ryans have these guys like at training camp way too early? I don't know if that'll be good or bad if these guys are already gassed since they've been hitting full pads for the last 3 weeks. But yeah, when I was thinking about it, it just seemed like a game that the Bears would win. So I kind of like the Bears money line. We can go split on the first preseason. We'll see a lot of, but I'll take the Bears minus 130. It just seems like a game that they'll win, and it seems like D'Amico Ryans has had his guys in the Houston Heat for the last month. I just they might be a little drained early.
Yeah, I could also see that being a way to look at it. I don't know. I just feel like they're going to be locked in. And I really like the Texans this year. I know that's not really a hot take. A lot of people are going to like the Texans this year, but I don't see a sophomore slump from Stroud. I think D'Amico Ryans is a top 6 head coach in the league, and the good head coaches get teams prepared for the preseason.
Yeah, I think you're right all about that. Other than for whatever reason, someone's telling me the Bears are going to win this game. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. The game doesn't matter. I don't even know what quarterbacks are playing. But some just tells me this is like a weird game that the Bears would win. I don't know,
Yeah,
but I think they got it.
I will tell you, I think Tyson Bagent, that the white guy that with all the tattoos, will be the starting quarterback for the Bears, and he's a
Okay,
dog. So
he's got experience,
yeah,
and he's going to be out there national TV trying to win a game.
yeah.
So that's my angle. That's why I like the Bears. But yeah, there was one. I really hope Jack was on this show because I had a little uh, future that I saw today, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it. Jack's definitely taking the over, but it was Trevor Lawrence 21 and a half touchdowns this year. I think that's a perfectly set line. It seems like it should soar over, but again, without Jack here, I don't think Lawrence has crazy weapons.
That does seem a little bit low to me. My issue with Trevor Lawrence is not his touchdown ability. It's his. I think Trevor Lawrence is the perfect candidate to have an Eli Manning type season where he throws for like 26 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, especially
Well,
without the weapons.
it is a favored bet because it's like minus 120. But I just saw a 21 and a half. I thought it seemed kind of low. And my immediate was like, oh my gosh, you got to hammer this. But again, I wanted Jack on here to see his take on it. But yeah, 21 and a half seemed low. But then I'm like, what's the catch?
Yeah, it does seem a little fishy there. I don't know if you can bet on over under interceptions, but I would definitely take the over on his interceptions.
Over on his interceptions. Who has more interceptions this year, Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence, just because they're going to trust him more with the football. And Daniel Jones might add like 6 fumbles.
Who has the better year, Jalen Hurts or CJ Stroud?
In terms of winning, or
Just a better year, man. Team, better stats. Team does better. Team performs. Team makes the playoffs. Team goes further into the playoffs.
I think CJ Stroud will have more MVP votes than Jalen Hurts does.
It's a good way to do it. And then last one, Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow?
Just in general.
Yeah, I mean, same kind of question for Stroud and Hurts. I mean, everyone said Joe Burrow's wearing the fucking Eminem hair. I mean, everybody's saying it's scary hours in Cincinnati.
I'll say Patrick Mahomes just because it would be not right of me not to. But when they play against each other, it becomes very close. But overall, body of work, Patrick Mahomes. In the playoffs, it's almost even. In as a whole, it's Patrick Mahomes.
I could see that. I could see that. And then I know I said last one, but here's the real last one. Do the New York Jets make the playoffs?
Yes. The AFC
You
is
don't
not.
seem too confident. You do not seem too confident in that. Yes.
I mean, they won what, 7 games last year, and they didn't have a quarterback all year. So you'd think if Aaron Rodgers can play half the season, they're good enough in a bad AFC to get a wild card.
Well, I mean, they got to go against the Bills, the Dolphins, and who else in that division? Oh,
The
Patriots.
Patriots.
So the Patriots are bad, but like the Bills and the Dolphins should be pretty good, at least compared to the Jets, right? Like the Bills and the Dolphins should be pretty good. So, you know, I think the Jets are gonna, it's going to be a struggle in that division because only one of them can win, and you figure the other one's going to get a wild card. So where does that leave the Jets?
I I think the Jets are good enough to split with both the Dolphins and the Bills and sweep the Patriots. And they might sweep the Dolphins are cupcake, chicken shit football. Robert Saleh is the defense, and it's just not a good matchup for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not. I don't know. It's interesting to think about though, because the Jets aren't this perennial winner. I mean, they've been choke artists what the last 20 years,
It is crazy how favored they are to like go far in the playoffs and make the playoffs.
right?
Yeah, that is crazy. And it's not like Aaron Rodgers has great success in the postseason either.
Not at all. We've seen the last 10 years has just been him choking. Other than I guess they won that one Super Bowl, but hasn't been too good.
Yeah, that Super Bowl was all James Starks.
It was. It was Donald Driver on that team too.
Yeah, it might have been the end of Donald Driver's career.
It probably was.
Greg Jennings was definitely there. And
Oh yeah, definitely Greg Jennings. But I don't know. Do you want to? We'll jump into answering questions like that, and definitely drop some questions on this guy or that guy or this team or that team in the comments below, and we'll try and answer them on some upcoming pods. But yeah, Brian, you got any football questions for me before we hop off?
well, I do have one little tidbit here. The NFL is going to employ an optical tracking for first downs in the preseason. I don't know if they're doing it in the Hall of Fame game. It might be too early, but they're going to try to phase out the chain gang, it looks like. So Goodell is getting rid of jobs from hardworking chain gang people.
So we call for robo umps. Now we're calling for robo chains.
It seemed like inevitable, right? I mean, we've been watching the stupid yellow line for the first down for how many years now? Like, why can't they just use that on a more
Yeah, but the announcers always make sure they throw the disclaimer out there. The yellow line is not accurate.
yeah, just
It's
make it
not
accurate,
accurate.
right? There's got to be a way. I guess they're trying to make it accurate, and that's what we're doing now.
I guess so. I don't know. I have more. I'm an old school guy. I like the robo. I like the real umpires, not robo umps. For this, make it legit. I mean, this is doesn't have that same feel. I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't have that same like, oh my gosh, you're ruining old school football if you make it accurate. I don't care. Probably gonna be easier for them to script though. Add
Yeah,
some kind of scriptedness in it.
you always find a way to bring up the script. But
First and 10, but really on the field it's 1st and 9.
yeah, maybe. I mean, it
They're
will
gonna
be a
have
sad
ways,
day.
man. They're gonna have ways.
It would be a sad day if the last ref to ever bring out a credit card to measure if the 4th and inches was a first down or not. That's always a nice wrinkle to see a couple times a season.
Right? It creates for better drama. And we all know Roger Goodell loves his drama.
It's what he gets paid to do.
That's what he gets paid to do, man. It's entertainment. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I got. I know we're asking fun football questions. I'm getting fired up. Action packed as always. I got nothing else other than a basketball shot behind me. I've been rough on the last two, so I'll try and get one going here. And then I'll be out. What do we think? Yes or no, Bry?
You've missed the last 4, so I'm going no.
And that was
Was that an
horrible.
air
All right.
ball?
It was really bad. Dude, I got to practice while I'm sitting down. It's been horrible. On that, Brian's always along. I'll catch you in the next one.
There's a rumor Jack has become the Anthony Rendon
You are
of this
now in
show.
the mix with DJ Savage.
And Premier League games coming to the US 2026.
Never happening.